family, and friends via live stream. We are going to begin the funeral service for Mr. Marvin Bernstein. If you have a cell phone here locally, please turn it off or place it into silent mode. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Michael Schwab of North Suburban Synagogue Bethel in Highland Park.
I'm going to begin the service by chanting from Psalm 15 in Marvin's memory. Marvin was truly an upright, righteous, kind, and person of pure heart, and Psalm 15 describes just such a person. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai miyagur bo'alecha mishkon b'har kodshecha, holech tamim ufoel tzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo, lo ragal al leshono, lo asal reu ra v'cherpa lo nasal krovo, nivzeh beinav nimas, v'yetzirei Adonai yechabed, nishbal hara v'lo yamir, kaspo lanatan b'neshech, v'shochad anakila lakach, ose'ela lo yimot le'olam. Translation. Do we deserve to enter into God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity. Do what is right. Speak the truth. Have no slander upon your tongue. Do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor. Honor those who revere God. Never retract a promise once made, though it may bring you harm. Lend no money at unfair rates, accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own, and you shall stand firm forever. We truly believe that the soul and the legacy of Marvin Bernstein will stand firm forever. Now I'm going to recite from Psalm 23. You have the translation in the service booklets you were given. After I chant it in the Hebrew, I'll ask that you read it aloud with me in the English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binoteh sheyar bitzeni, al mei menuchot yinahaleni, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo, gam ki elech begei tzal mavet, lo yirara ki ata imadi, shiftecha umishantecha hema, yinachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorai, dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed yordafuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai leorech yamim. Please recite it with me in the English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That is certainly our prayer, that Marvin Bernstein dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There's a great philosopher in Judaism called Ben Sira, and he wrote the following that I hope will serve as some measure of comfort at a difficult time. When parents who have taught their children pass on, that passing is not true death. As long as the child lives, there's a part of the parent that cannot die. When alive, a parent rejoices with children, and in death, that parent will not grieve, for he knows that his legacy will pass on through his living relatives, l'dor vador, from generation to generation, forever. Amen. This time, Marvin was blessed to have a wonderful family, and at this time I want to call on some of the family members to say some words in his memory and in his honor, and we'll start out with Bob.
Thank you. So a few weeks ago, my dad's white delivery van decided to call it quits. He had it since 2012, and he probably drove it for over 200,000 miles. One day, it just stopped working. When my dad started to get sick at the same time, I made a comment about he and his van and likened them to the old man and his white horse. How many of you know the story of the old man and his white horse? A couple? Well, I didn't either. So I looked it up. And after looking it up, I realized it's actually a nice parable about blessings and curses. How do you know when something is a blessing versus a curse? And I thought it was very appropriate for today. The parable is about a man who was poor, but had a beautiful white horse that he could have sold for a large fortune. His neighbors tried to encourage him to sell the horse or it'll be lost or stolen, but he never did. Sure enough, one day it was gone, and the neighbors all told him that he was cursed. The old man said, "Wait, I'm not cursed. We only know that the horse is not there, and we'll see what happens next." Sure enough, after several days, the horse returned and brought with him a whole herd of other horses, and then all thought he was blessed. And there were a few other examples in the story, but the point was you never know if it's something is a curse or a blessing. And we had several blessings that we thought could have been curses. One, first, is that Adrian had her own health scare a few weeks ago, which could have been a curse, but was actually a blessing. Because of that curse, she ended up spending the last few weeks of my dad's life with him at the hospital and at Whitehall. They visited every day at a time that people aren't supposed to be visiting. What a blessing that was. Next, not sure if all know, but my dad had a heart attack when he was 36 years old, 1977. Was it a curse or was it a blessing? Turns out that it was probably a blessing. Yes, he missed out on 2.5 packs a day of menthol Salems and late night pizzas, but unlike his father and his uncles who passed at young ages, he lived a healthier lifestyle and was on this earth for another full 43 years to see his kids and his grandkids grow. Again, a blessing. Last, like the man and his horse, my dad didn't have much financial wealth, which he didn't consider a curse at all. In fact, it's probably what made him the nicest, sweetest guys in the world. And anyone that came across him, and I met a lot of them in the past few weeks, his customers, his insurance people, the people at the bank, the people at Once Upon a Bagel, they all know my dad's smile, his warm greetings, his positive attitude, and again, what a blessing. We'll miss it, and thanks, Dad, for helping us understand not to judge a curse too soon and how to turn them into blessings. Thank you.
Barbara, unfortunately, is watching from the live stream, so can't be here in person, but she sent some words, and I'm honored to read it on her behalf. So imagine it's her voice and her speaking. A letter to my dad, my best friend. I already miss you so much, especially our daily talks. My heart is broken. I'm so happy and grateful I was able to hold your hand last week, even if for a short time. I feel like I have not let go. I wanted to continue to hold on to you. You were always there for me and for all of us, no matter what. You helped me through my darkest times when I was sick and through all my surgeries. You were my rock. I have so much more to say to you, but will tell you in my prayers. I have learned in the past week or so, although not surprising, how much you are adored and admired by others, whether it be customers, co-workers, acquaintances, whoever's path you have crossed. I love you for eternity, your daughter. I will see you on the other side, and I'm sure I will find you on the golf course. Barbara, that was beautiful, and I was honored to be able to read it for you. Now I'm going to ask Michael to say some words.
So I had my brother print this out for me. I was asking him in the car if, like the show Impractical Jokers, if he kind of switched it up on me, but I'm sure it's not switched up, right? You assured me? So I stand here today in front of you with a hole in my heart, a hole that can never be repaired. October 28th, 2020 will forever be known as the day that you, I, and the world lost an incredible father, grandfather, husband, brother, uncle, cousin, and friend. My father deserved to live for many more years. I'm in a fog right now and can't believe this is actually real. This man deserved a funeral for a king, deserved everything that you can imagine, deserved everything in this world. I'd like to share a few thoughts I've had in my mind the last couple of days. I've never seen a more hardworking yet gentle and happy man. He was not a rich man in the sense of dollars and gold. He was a man who felt rich because he had so many loving friends and family who cared about him and who admired him. This man's wealth came from having dinner out with loved ones. A man whose wealth came from playing a round of golf with his friends, with his buddies. A man whose wealth came from simply staring into the eyes of his grandchildren and receiving their hugs and kisses in return. I know that at funerals, everybody says how their loved ones were loved by all and he was a great person. That would be appropriate, I guess, to say at a funeral. In this case, however, I can honestly and truly say that anyone who deserves those descriptions, loved by all and a great person, is my dad. This great and wonderful man does not have a mean bone in his body. I've learned so much from him. Because of him, I've learned to be a good person, a good father, and a good role model to others. Adrian, thank you for the love that you have always shown to my father. The love you have for one another should be an example for all of us to follow. The way you held hands, you looked at each other, held each other, and cared for each other in sickness and in health is a beautiful thing to have been able to witness. Aunt Joyce, you've known my dad longer than anyone here. You know he's always loved you very much and has always spoken very highly of you. Dana and Gordon, I know that sharing my dad with you was a gift from God. And always know that he loved you, both of you, very much, and I love you back for giving him the love that you gave him. Bobby and Barbara, how lucky and fortunate have we been to be blessed with this magnificent person as our dad. Since my dad fell ill recently, the amount of people that have said he's such a great guy or he's such a kind man. People have said the twinkle in his eyes when he talked about his grandchildren was so easy to see. We could not have asked for a better human being to show us what it means to love others, especially our children, our nieces, and our nephews. Oh, thanks, Dad. Angela, Tom, Sylvie, Andrea, I want to thank you for making my dad's life more fortuitous with you in it. He loved you all as well. Hannah, Drew, Kenzie, Maddie, Eli, Carter, and Ruby. I want all of you to know, or to forever keep my father, your grandfather, in your hearts and your dreams, and let his memories be shared with your children. His love for you is unsurpassed. You will forever be his pride and joy. He truly is an example of what God's idea of love is what's supposed to be. My future wife, Sylvie, and I have decided, as in the Jewish tradition, to honor my father, to make our daughter Ruby, her middle name, Maya. Her name will be Ruby Maya Bernstein. The meanings of Maya are truth, reason, love, generous, courage, and bravery, just to name a few. What better names to describe my father? Again, truth, reason, love, generous, courage, bravery, so all those describe my father. My memories will live on forever and be kept along through her. In closing, I want everyone, whether it be family or friends, to please remember to keep sharing stories about my father and how he's made this world a better place. It could be during your next round of golf. Don't forget to give him that $1. He earned it. Your next reunion, your next family get-together, or during your next phone call. Dad? I love you. Thank you for making this world a better place. Thank you for your love and kindness, your gentleness, your compassion. Thank you for the memories. I will cherish them forever. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Michael. I'm now going to ask Dana to come up and say a few words.
It's just big type. I was 8 years old when Marv came into my life. My little brother, Gordy, was 3. I was determined to dislike him. He came to the door with his leather jacket and huge Jufro. He had the biggest smile, and he was so gentle and kind. I remember watching through the window as he gingerly led my mom into the car and closed the door behind her. He had us all wrapped around his little finger that very first night. My parents' divorce was extremely contentious, and it lasted for over 10 years, and there were a lot of really hard times. And Marv stuck around through all the craziness, and he brought a steady calm into our family. He was the yin to my mom's yang. He was one of a kind. I never heard him say a bad word about anyone, nor have I heard anyone say a bad word about him. He was pure goodness, always a smile and a kind word for everyone. Not only did we gain a stepdad when Marv and my mom eventually married in 1992, but Gordy and I gained 2 stepbrothers and a stepsister. We also became regulars at Boobies. Mikey and I became fast friends. He was just a little bit older, so we sat in the way back and we laughed a lot. He taught me about things like Dr. Demento and made me cool mixtapes with singers like Boy George. He worked in a record store, and he helped Marv hook me up with a Simon and Garfunkel box set. I looked up to Barb. She was the oldest, so pretty and so cool. She could blow smoke rings like no one I'd ever seen. Bob, on the other hand, he was cute and perfect, and he became my mom's favorite. We mostly got along. But there was that creamer incident that time at Omega. Eventually, Bobby moved in with us, and it was really fun having a big brother in the house, especially because he had his own car. And he taught me how to drive. We were like the Brady Bunch when we were all together. We had lots of laughs and good times. We used to all truck down to the city in the van to visit Molly and Joyce. We'd have interesting meals. Crunchy egg salad, etc. All the kids, we would go to the rooftop and run wild. We had great times. Marv was such a dedicated son and brother. I'll never forget our family trip to Browns Lake. Mom and Marv rented a cabin by the beach. Some of my memories in no particular order are mothballs, board games, the Bedazzler, the Violent Femmes, bunk beds, ice cream, and of course the Sugar Shack. Marv was really fun. And anytime we were at a wedding or a mitzvah and the twist came on, he would look for me. And we would dance our hearts out. And we won more than one twist contest together. When I was little, we used to play this game called the K's Against the Bernsteins. There were 3 K's and 1 Bernstein, and he won every time. He was so strong, he would tickle us and get a hold of our legs, and the game would be over. When I was in high school, Marv used to take me to breakfast in the morning and then drive me to school. We'd sit over coffee and chat about whatever was on our minds. I could talk to him about anything, and he always treated me like one of his own. In the evenings, Marv would go for a jog sometimes. And I'd join him, and we'd jog all the way to Baker Square and have apple pie a la mode and laugh all the way home about it. No doubt, Marvin was a fabulous dad. He loved his children and his family more than anything. A close second, however, was golf and his golf buddies. And I'm so grateful that I finally gave in and spent a beautiful summer day golfing with him. We did 9 holes, and he taught me all the tricks he knew, and he even let me drive the cart. We had a fabulous day and lots of laughs. The last couple of years, Mom and Marv have been coming to our house regularly for Shabbat dinner. Marv loved to eat, and he raved about my salmon and homemade challah. The last few weeks, he wasn't up to coming, and that's when I truly understood how bad he had been feeling. You see, Marvin never complained. He always smiled, and he always showed up to everything for all of us and his grandchildren. Every graduation, birthday party, school play, ballet performance, whatever it was, he was always there with bells on. He lived for his children and his grandchildren. And when he could no longer make it for Shabbat, I knew it was the beginning of the end. He took such good care of my mom all these years. He loved her so much, and he was so good to her. One of his last trips was to Costco, and he went and he stocked up on everything, no doubt, to take care of my mom the best that he could. As he was literally dying, he pushed a huge cart. He was telling me the story. He told me it felt like 1,000,000 pounds, but he did it. One final act of love, making sure my mom had what she needed, as was in his character. The last words my stepdad ever said to me were, "I'm sorry." In his dying moments, he was worried about us. He was sorry for leaving my mom and leaving us behind, and this is the selfless man that Marvin was. I'm grateful he didn't linger and suffer for very long. That was my prayer. I'm grateful he's in heaven with all the people he has loved and lost in his life, reuniting and playing golf as many holes as he desires and eating all the food that he loves. Fly high, Marv. Rest in peace, my dear friend. We'll take care of Mom.
Now Eli's going to say some words.
The final things my grandfather said to me, it's not working. No. The final things my grandfather said to me were, "Hi, sweetie." Always so kind. And yet he looked so tired. His eyes were half closed. And less than a week before that, I thought he was able to live with what he had. But on that fateful day, I found out that cancer was incurable and much worse than we thought. I broke down in tears, understanding that my grandfather wasn't going to be around for much longer. It was hard. He had never said anything bad about anyone, never wore a frown. He was taking care of my grandma while doing his own work. To be honest, when I was offered the ability to go work for him a little bit, I was happy because I was trying to grab some extra cash, but now I realize how selfish that was of me. I really should have gotten that. It's just time to be with my grandfather. Now I can't take that back. He is gone. I hope that he rests in peace. He was a man who strived to be the best he could be, while always wearing a smile and never complaining. He was a great man and left a positive impact on the people he met. In essence, he was just an amazing person. Don't take it from me. Take it from the memories you've had with him, the time you spent with him, and the things you've done together. I remember last year in Jamaica at Uncle Gordy's wedding, I had like a 103 fever. We were both just relaxing at the pool while Grandma was waiting in the pool. Maddie was splashing around. Me and him were both just relaxing in the shade, chatting. I know it may have hurt me in the moment with the pneumonia I had, but I swear it's got to be nothing compared to how much Marv tolerated that. It must have hurt him so bad, and how he tolerates anyone. And then within the month of his passing, we were just playing poker. I was absolutely wiping the floor with him, of course, but another thing I remember was when we played Scrabble. He was getting absolutely destroyed, but I wish I could have gotten more times like that with him. It really stinks. The fact that I only started to get close to him was within the last 4 months of his life. Grandpa Mark, you can hear me up there. Continue to be who you are. You will always be there in our hearts. Thank you. Rest in peace.
Really beautiful, Eli. Thank you so much. And now Joyce, his beloved sister, is going to say some words.
Okay, Marvin was my only sibling, and I'll miss him so much, I just can't believe it. Everybody called him my little brother, and we were together so much through the years. So many things happened, and we were always often alone. My father was sick for 10 years with heart attacks and strokes. My mother had to go to work, and my brother and I were always together. In fact, once I got a job being an usher at a movie theater, and he sat through the movies so I wouldn't be alone, and he went home, so I could be with him and I wouldn't have to do it all alone. Okay, he was just, everybody loved him. I mean, you can't say a bad word. The whole world loved him, and I think he was an angel sent from heaven. I really do. Nobody could have been like that. I used to say to him, how can you accept everything? And he said, well, I just turned my other ear. And I don't know, what else did I write here? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I can't remember now, but I just can't believe it. I wanted to go before him, and I just can't accept it. I just didn't want to give up for him, and he's not here now, but the whole world's going to miss him. Everybody that knew him, he was just one of a kind. Nobody was like him. Nobody was such a wonderful person. And that's about all I can say right now. I think that takes it all in. I'll think of things later, but that's right. Who knows how I feel? Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce, for those beautiful words. We know how much your brother meant to you. The great ancient sage. There we go. The great ancient sage, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, once asked his students the following question. Ezehi derech tova she'yidbak ba ha'adam. What is the best way for a person to live his or her life? Many thoughtful and wise answers were given, but Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai preferred that of Rabbi Eliezer, his student, who said the following. The best way for a person to live is with a lev tov, with a good heart. And the reason is, for those who possess a good heart will also possess all of the other qualities that will lead to a life well lived. Today, of course, we come to mourn Marvin Bernstein, and he was a man with a pure lev tov, a beautiful heart, and a gute neshama, a beautiful soul to boot. Regarded by all as kind, warm, giving, he was indeed a man who would have achieved Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's highest praise, a man with a lev tov. At this time, I do want to extend my condolences and those of North Suburban Synagogue Bethel to Marvin's family, to his devoted wife, to Adrian, to his loving children, Barbara, Robert, and Michael, as well as his cherished stepchildren, Dana and Gordon, to his adored grandchildren, Hannah, Mackenzie, Drew, Eli, Madeline, Carter, and Ruby Maya, as well as to his beloved sister, Joyce. and to all the other family and friends who mourn his passing. May the words we share today provide some measure of comfort at a very difficult time in your lives. Marvin and Joyce, as you heard, grew up together in Chicago, and Joyce told me they had a wonderful life as kids. They were wonderful companions, and Joyce told me he was truly a devoted brother. Life got a little more difficult as their father became ill and money was tight, but they stuck together through it all, right, Joyce? Joyce shared with me that they spent so much time together, and in life, he was always wonderful to her. For Marvin was always a kind and friendly man, and throughout his schooling, as you've heard from others, he had a lot of buddies. He attended Roosevelt College in Chicago and joined a fraternity. His kids, when I spoke to him, said that he talked about how he loved those days and was very nostalgic for those times in the fraternity and in college. And as usual, he made a ton of friends there too. Not only was he a kind, friendly, and terrific guy, he was also a hard worker. He always wanted to work for himself, and he made that happen. He loved his customers, and they loved him. He started in the furniture business, and for the last 30 years, he had his own reupholstery business. He did the sales and the customer service, and he hired others to do the craft. The funny part, Adrian told me, was that he was colorblind. So she had to help him out with the designs, and he had to put sticky notes on all the fabrics to make sure he knew exactly what they were. I always smile when I think about that since you told me that story. He worked until his very last day. The kids told me that, in fact, on his way to the emergency room only a few weeks ago, he stopped at the office. He was just a devoted guy. That's the kind of guy he was. You heard from his kids, you heard from his sister, you heard from one of his grandchildren. So you know he was a wonderful dad, a wonderful grandfather, and a fabulous brother, and of course a fantastic husband. But not only did he love his kids dearly, he was that kind of person who just loved kids in general. He's the person who got on the floor to play with their kids when they were little, and as he got older, he made sure they always had whatever was their favorite food, their favorite things. Or as you heard Dana mention, when he went on walks or something like that, he'd always find a special treat for you. The kids also fondly recalled playing hours of Hit the Quarter. Did I get that right? With Marvin. Dana and Gordon shared with me that when their mother married him, they of course had some natural hesitations, but as she mentioned, he won them over in an instant because of his warmth, his caring, and his endless support. And of course, they loved the way that he treated their mom. When Adrian met Marvin, she told me that she was struck by how kind, soft-spoken, peaceful, caring, and supportive he was. She just knew that she would love being married to him. And she was right. They had a beautiful relationship, and Adrian gladly helped him in the business, and Marvin took incredible care of her when she could no longer do that completely for herself. That was the kind of guy he was, always full of love, always caring for others. Marvin was also very devoted to his friends, and he had many of them. I don't know all of his friends, but the family recalled to me in particular Jerry, Harry, and Rob, with whom they shared family vacations, and also Marvin's other love, which was the game of golf. He loved all of his golfing buddies and the whole experience of playing golf. Even when he developed a bad hip that would have caused most people to stop playing, he brought a gadget with him to help pick up the balls so he could play on. He also loved bowling and enjoyed the league and his bowling buddies as well. He liked convertibles and the Cubs. In fact, I was told at one point he sold hot dogs at Wrigley. I am sure he was ecstatic when he saw the Cubs win a World Series in his lifetime. I know my bubby was. He was a devoted Jew. He was active at Maine Township and then later at Bethel, our synagogue, once he married Adrian. He cared about the holidays, our traditions, and the Jewish people. And as you heard, he enjoyed Dana's Friday night dinners on Shabbat, and especially her salmon. He did indeed love to eat. He particularly, as you heard, loved Booby's restaurant and liked to make his own style of egg salad with the shells included, for protein, of course. However, as you also heard, at age 36, he did have a heart attack, and he lived his life since then, seeing every day as a gift. I really love the way you put it. Was it a curse? What is it, a blessing? I think in this case it was a blessing. This also inspired him to exercise, eat better, and appreciate each and every one of those days. The truth is, Marvin was a true mensch. He was a loving husband, a loving father, grandfather, brother, friend, and person, and everyone who knew him will miss him. Yehi zichro baruch, may the memory of Moshe Zayvel ben Baruch v'Malka, Marvin Bernstein, always be for a blessing, and please let everyone say, Amen. This time we're going to lower the casket, and I will recite Psalm 121 as they do so. Yes. Shir Lamalot. Esayin Larim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai. Ose Shamayim Va'aretz. Al Yitain Lamot Raglecha. Al Yanum Shomrecha. Hine lo Yanum Velo Yishan Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha. Adonai Tzilcha Yad Yiminecha. Yomam HaShemesh lo yakeka, v'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvawecha, me'ata v'yad olam. A song for ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm and guard your life. God guards your going and your coming, now and forevermore. Al Mikomo Yavo V'Shalom. May Moshe Zayvel ben Baruch v'Malka, Marvin Bernstein, go unto God in peace. And let us say, Amen. Before the vault cover is lowered, I'm going to add Israeli earth. There's already Israeli earth inside the casket, and this will be on top of the casket inside the vault. The Israeli earth represents Marvin's eternal connection with both the people and the land of Israel. And as the vault is covered and closed, I'll now recite from a prayer called Sidur Kadin. Hatzur tamim poalo, ki chol drachav mishpat el emunah ve'inav el tzadik v'yashar hu. Hatzur tamim b'chol poal, mi omar lo ma tifal hashalit b'ma tav v'mal mimiti mechayeh, urid she'ol v'ya'al. Hatzur tamim b'chol ma'aseh, mi omar lo ma ta'aseh omer ve'oseh chesed chinam lanu ta'aseh, u'vizchut hanekad kesak shiva v'aseh. Tzadik b'chol drachav, hatzur tamim. Erech apayim u'malei rachamim chamona v'chusna lavot uvanim ki lecha adon haslichot v'arachamim tzadik atah Adonai la'amit l'achayot Asher biyadcha pikton kol ruchot chalil lecha zichronenu limchot. Yunainecha barachamim aleinu fikuchot. Ki lecha adon harachamim v'aslichot. Adami ben shanai elef shanim yichya. Ma yitron lo kilo hayah. Baruch dayan haemet. Mimi tumechayah. Baruchu ki emet dino. Umishoteta kol beino. Umishalem la'adam cheshbono v'dino. V'akol ishmo adayayitenu. Yadanu Adonai ki tzedek mishpatecha. Titzdak bivarecha v'tizkeh b'shovtecha. Ve'en la'er achar midat shovtecha. Tzadik ata Adonai v'yashar mishpatecha. Dayan emet shofet tzedek v'emet. Baruch dayan haemet. Shekol mishpatav tzedek v'emet. Nefesh kol chai b'yadecha. Tzedek malai yaminecha. Rachem al peitat son yadecha. V'tomar lamalach. Heref yadecha. Gedol ha'itzav v'rav haliyah. Asher eineka pekuchot al kol darchei v'nei adam. Latet li'ish kidrachav. V'chfri me'al elav. La'agid ki ashar Adonai tzuri. V'lo avlatabo. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach. Yehi shem Adonai mivorach. Urachum yichaper avon v'lo yashchit v'yirba l'ashiva po. V'lo ya'ir kol chamato. Adonai natan, the Lord has given. V'Adonai lakach, and sadly the Lord has taken. Yehi shem Adonai mivorach, and through it all, praise be the name of God who supports us. V'yashov ha'afar al aretz k'shaya v'aruach tashuv el ha'elohim asher natana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May Marvin Bernstein's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. Send comfort, God, to those who mourn. Grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. And once again, let us all say, Amen. As that is finished, I'm now going to ask those who are seated only if you're able to please stand for the memorial prayer. Just 1 second. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Mamromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'ma'alot Kiddoshim Utorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazirim et Nishmat, Moshe Zayvel ben Baruch v'Malka Shalach Liolamo, Began Eden Tei Menuchato, Ana Bala Rachamim, Hastireu B'Seiter Kanafecha Liolamim, Utzror B'Tzror Chaim et Nishmato, Adonai Unachlato, Yanuch B'Shalom Yishkavo, V'Nomar Amen. Exalted God, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Moshe Zayvel ben Baruch v'Malka, to Marvin Bernstein, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. May he always rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Now I'm going to ask the immediate family to recite with me the Mourner's Kaddish. It's found in your service folder. Yitzkadal, v'yitzkadash, Shemei Rabbah, ve'alma, divra, chirute, v'yamlich, malchute, v'chaye echon, v'yom echon, v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalal v'zman kariv, v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh v'yithadar, v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. In a moment, Peggy's going to make a couple of announcements about the procedures for doing the burial. I just want to say that in the Jewish tradition, the participation in the burial is seen as a great mitzvah, as a great act of compassion and kindness. It's our tradition that we, Marvin's community of friends and family, we're the ones to put him to his final rest. There are a couple of traditions to observe after you hear the procedures, that we do at least 3 shovelfuls to show that this is something, we're not rushing to do it and to be finished. Also you don't hand the shovel from one person to the other, like you're either in a rush or having a good time. And the last one, which some people observe, you certainly don't have to, but I do, is you take the shovel and you put the blade upside down for the first shovelful, because you never do that in a normal act of shoveling, and it reminds you that this is an act of compassion. So I'm going to hand it over to Peggy.
Thank you, Rabbi. Yeah, there are some different things we're going to ask everyone to place some gloves on before you place the earth into the grave. And everyone is also given a rose if you want to place that into the grave as well, or one or the other, whatever you're more comfortable with. Maddie? Maddie, you can take roses home with you for sure. And also the family will have a Zoom, a minyan at 7 tomorrow p.m., followed by virtual visitation at 8:30. That information is on our website. So at this time, the immediate family will come forward and we'll give you some gloves